Hello guys, it is Game Theories here, and we are putting a massive red spoiler alert warning for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. If you haven't seen it yet, go and do so and then come back. You have been warned. Great, well now I think all those people have gone, let's talk about the most important thing from that film. Shuri has turned to the dark side. So, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was a great way to end Phase 4. It handled the death of Chadwick Boseman really well, which meant we also lost our Wakandan king, King T'Challa. With that, the whole movie was about the grieving process for the Wakandans, but especially for his sister Shuri. And as we know from the film, Shuri has got a lot to deal with. The death of her mother as well, when the new villain and leader of Talokan, Namor, kills her. With all this grief and pain, it leads to Shuri deciding to bring back the Black Panther as she takes the mantle on herself and replants the garden for future generations. However, with this she is set with vengeance against Namor and the Talokan people, rather than what T'Challa was like. Sounds a lot like a very similar character in the MCU who starts turning to vengeance when her husband and kids technically die. The fact is, Marvel seems to be on a trend recently with good guy turned villain. We saw little glimpses of it in Endgame with Clint turning from Hawkeye into Ronin for 5 years, but Phase 4 has been full of it. The biggest one, of course, is everyone's favourite Wanda, who after Endgame basically has just been a villain ever since. In WandaVision, she enslaved an entire town and created her own reality, but she did eventually let them go. However, when she did, she ended up getting hold of the Darkhold and then tried causing multiversal war in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where she literally was just the main villain of that film. Speaking of which, Doctor Strange has had several variants of himself become villainous. We had Strange Supreme in What If, and the variant of Strange who had that epic music battle in Doctor Strange 2, still probably the best scene of Phase 4 by far. We had White Vision, who technically was Vision turning bad. We have Kang, who technically isn't necessarily a villain as such in Loki, but his variants are much worse, and now the whole of the multiverse saga is going to be dealing with him. And then we've got Valentina, who's practically just recruiting villains at this point, such as Yelena, who was kind of a good guy, you could say, in Black Widow. So it's becoming a much more regular thing in the MCU that now characters aren't necessarily divided by good and bad, but instead kind of just go for whatever their intention is, and if that makes them villainous, then it doesn't really matter. And this is where Shuri comes into it. We already know from the first Black Panther film that T'Challa worked really hard to get a good relationship with Wakanda and the rest of the world, and that he had mercy and humility. Shuri has that, don't get me wrong, but she's also very different to T'Challa. She doesn't follow Wakandan traditions, instead focusing on modern technology and where that can bring the country forward. And we've seen the Wakandans' relationship with the rest of the world without T'Challa becoming ever so weaker. When Shuri became the Black Panther, she saw Killmonger, who was of course the villain in the first Black Panther film, and was driven by vengeance similar to Shuri. The person who you see when you become the Black Panther is the thing that influences your power as the Black Panther. We've already seen Shuri get very angry in the final battle of Wakanda Forever, where she was driven by vengeance and motivated by Killmonger. And even though she didn't kill Namor and instead created an alliance, her brief trip to the dark side could easily return and might be hinting at it permanently returning in the future. This is especially because of Talokan and Wakanda's new alliance that holds the two countries together with vibranium. I wouldn't be surprised if by Black Panther 3 it becomes the choice of Wakanda to have to team up with Talokan, and that means Wakanda is against the surface world and therefore becomes a villainous Black Panther rather than a saviour. This could also lead to a civil violence in Wakanda itself, with everyone against Shuri as she is being driven by her dark thoughts instead of thinking about what someone like T'Challa would have done. This might not even happen in Black Panther 3, but could influence the next few Avengers films, or even the several Black Panther Disney Plus spin-offs which are currently being planned. Either way, there is too much potential for Marvel to tease a dark villainous Shuri in Wakanda for them not to do anything with it. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they go about it. But anyway guys, that's the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure that you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Guys, let me know down below in the comments, what do you think about this? Do you reckon that Shuri is going to be one of the next main villains in the Black Panther franchise? Maybe even the Avengers? And would you like to see Shuri as a villain? I'm not gonna lie, I really liked her little trip to the dark side, as I call it, in the end of Wakanda Forever. But anyway guys, let me know all your thoughts down there, and as always, we've been here at Gated Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.